Hello everyone, welcome once again to the vast and ominous Comic Vault. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And
I'm in the vault.
And today, Eric and I are finally going to chat a little bit about Batman Earth 1 Volume 2. This came out a few weeks ago, and we have been threatening to review this for a while, and finally getting around to it. This, of course, Jeff Johns' second outing in the Earth 1 universe for Batman. A lot of people were kind of down about the first one and didn't really care for it, but I'm hearing a lot of positive things about this one, and I think people are starting to turn around on this continuity a little bit. Eric, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I reread the first one before reading this one.
As did I.
And the thing that I was struck with by rereading, because I still really liked it, because I think you and I were maybe the only two people on the internet that were really positive on it.
We did. We really liked it, yeah.
Well, but rereading it, I was like, you know what? It's a little cramped. This feels like it needs like 20 more pages. It's just like there's no room to breathe in this story. And so I was really excited because this one has 20 more pages. However, it's a more complex story, and I feel like it needs 20 more pages.
Oh, I didn't have that. I was really... First of all, I did not notice that it was longer. But that it was like page count was longer, but I actually had that toward the end. I found myself thinking this feels kind of feature length, and feels like it really had it really took its time and told a good complex story. But I didn't feel like it needed more pages. Differently than the first one. Where the first one, I felt like the entire thing was squished. Yeah. Like it just needed a little room to breathe. This one. It's all in the third act. I feel like the third act happens really fast, and we're told a lot of things, and they're never followed up on. My big question coming out of this is, was the Riddler killing the 5 people that were controlling Gotham? I thought they made it really clear that he was. Batman says that, and then they never mention, and then they say the 5 people that were killed were in government positions. They tell you exactly where they were. I guess the question is it ever fully confirmed that it's definitely true that those 5 people were taking over Cobblepot's old operations? Yeah, that would be the question. Well, we don't know how, because nobody knows who the Riddler is. Yeah. Even at the end, nobody knows who he is. So who is the 5th person? We don't know how he's connected to them, why he was killing them, and I don't know if I'm not supposed to know or if the book thinks it told me. I did not have that problem, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of the issues people had with the end of Earth 1 are things that are completely picked up on, the first book, are things that are completely picked up on here and dealt with. Like, a lot of people were just like, I don't like that Alfred solves Batman's problem for him with a gun. Well, this deals with that. Because it was different. It was interesting. Yeah, but I think the deal was, it being kind of a standalone piece, and you had to assume we were going to get more, but as you and I have discussed before, they are somewhat ambiguous about when or if we will ever get more of these a lot of the time. So I think people read that first one. Talk about until there's a release date. I think people read that first one and were like, well, the story's not over, and I don't like it where it is now. And we learned a lot from the trilogy, I think, of Superman Earth 1, with the way JMS did that, where there were a lot of things that you weren't sure if they worked until they paid off, and then they paid off, and they were pretty good. Well, this, as far as the whole, the thing with the up and ups that were taking over Cobblepot's operations, I kind of just assumed that we would do more stuff with them later, and that the thing is, we're killing most villains in this, and we kept Riddler alive, and I think there's a reason for that. What I'm wondering, let me throw this out real quick because I just thought of this. I'm wondering if Riddler will end up being simultaneously some other villain we know also, because we're not told that he's Edward Nygma, and there's a whole thing about the Riddler being a facade, and that it's a gimmick that he's using for misdirection, and it makes me wonder if he's not. And he looks totally different than any Riddler we've ever seen before, and I don't just mean in his costume, which I wasn't really digging on, but it's a style thing, and I don't really care. He needs a shirt. I don't really care, but whatever. But you get to the end, and he's kept alive. He's the Riddler, but only sort of, because he's using that misdirection gimmick. Yeah, he doesn't really care. It's just a
theme that he's going with to kind of mask his actual crime.
Yeah, because he doesn't want people to notice the connection between these people, and I think that was sort of smart. We'll get to that because I have issues with the Riddler in this, but the way he fits into all the identity stuff I think is fantastic. The idea that what he makes the big riddle that he talks about and makes a big deal out of is who is anyone really, and the way that fits in with Batman and his dual identity, and then where Bruce Wayne comes to at the end in figuring out maybe how to use both personas as symbols for hope, I think is really kind of cool. But I just thought of that. What if he's someone else we know, and not Edward Nygma?
Yeah, like he could kind of be anybody. And what's weird is it's suggested that he is the fifth member of that cabal.
Yeah.
But once he's found, nobody knows who he is.
Well, and the thing is, I was a little confused by that, because you say cabal, but they weren't really working together, right? It seemed like they just divvied up. That's what
I don't know, because we just keep getting told there are 5 people that take over Untitled Chapter.
Yeah, if they were all working,
it was like a mafia thing.
If they were all working together, then why was he trying to axe them all? Like, the sense I got was that they weren't connected at all.
I thought they were connected in the same way that, like, the mafia is. Like, they're aware that the other people are, and most of them are related to Batman or the Batman universe somehow. One of them is Jack Drake. One of them is something Crane.
One of them is a Crane. Yeah, one of them is a Black.
Yeah. And there's another one.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, is that most of those recognizable names, I should have looked up that last one because I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, me either.
But mostly recognizable names. And then so like it really makes you wonder. Okay, who else for like probably wealthy families or influential families? Who else could he
might
be?
Be like Black Mask.
I'm wondering if he's not an Arkham.
Oh,
because Arkham is a big deal in this, and
that's true.
And Martha Wayne is an Arkham, which I think is one of the coolest changes that Jeff Johns made in this. The idea that
it's so interesting.
Playing into the notion of if Bruce Wayne had kind of a nature nurture thing, if he maybe already had a little bit of that insanity thing in him, just already, because he's so like the Wayne versus the Arkham thing. I love that, and I wonder I feel like Johns is going somewhere with that, and it makes me wonder if maybe he's not an Arkham, or because putting Crane in that list, I don't know, makes me wonder.
Well, and
but there's other things it could be too. Sorry, what?
We know Asylum as a Crane Institute. That's mentioned at the end of the first one.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to talk about the Riddler going into the book.
Why don't we just go right ahead to that? Yeah, sure.
Well, because from where this is part of the problem with releasing it so far apart.
Yeah.
Because at the end of Earth 1, it was so exciting that we were going to get a Riddler story, because there hadn't been a big Riddler story. Since then, we've had 0 Year.
Yeah.
He plays a major part in Batman Eternal, I think.
Oh, does he? I didn't get through all of that because I didn't care for it. But
I want to say I remember seeing somewhere, like I was reading an interview to hear what Scott Snyder had to say about his Batman stuff.
Yeah. But
there was stuff about Eternal in there, and so he was like, "Oh yeah, we are doing the Riddler from 0 Year." So like I assume he played some guy, but specifically 0 Year. We just had a really big Riddler story
and a really good Riddler story.
Yeah, with a really good Riddler, and I feel like if this had come out just a little bit earlier, I would be slightly less critical of the Riddler, and I like the Riddler in this. He just doesn't seem as smart as the 0 Year Riddler.
It's a twist on the whole, the Riddler thinks that he's a bigger deal than he really is, and that he's not really all that menacing, and that he has delusions of grandeur. It's a twist on that, where in this he's self-aware and knows that, and kind of sort of. He still thinks he's a big deal, but he pretends like he's this larger than life thing, and that's how Johns parallels him with Batman, because they
right.
Both of them, it's about perception.
They created an identity.
Yeah, and they've created this idea of what they're about, where Batman has, not really on purpose, but people think that he killed the mayor, and so he's kind of got that working for him a little bit because everybody's scared of him. And the Riddler makes people think that in the moment. This is one of my problems with it, but he makes people think, at least in the moment, gives them a kind of hope a little bit, and makes them think that they could answer a riddle to save their lives, and then he doesn't actually care about that. And turning the Riddler thing on its head, where Riddler is usually about playing a game, and he's compelled, and it's the psychological thing, and this is just kind of a way to kill people without people realizing that he's doing that, and making it look like accidents. Or at the very least that it's acts of terror and nobody can find who did it. I just thought of this too, because I was getting a lot of Begins and Dark Knight vibes with this, and that's not really a bad thing. Like, I don't think it's ripping that stuff off. It's just it felt in that vein a little bit. In places.
The first one has that too a little bit.
Yeah. But here, especially with like the way that we're using Lucius Fox and stuff like that. But with that, that's a little bit of the whole escalation thing. Like, I wonder if you would have this version of the Riddler if you didn't have Batman first.
Well, I feel like this Riddler is almost a little postmodern.
Yeah, okay.
It's almost
that's a great way to put it.
Very similar to the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, where it's like, I'm going to create this fictional character for you to fight while I'm doing my real thing over here. Except in this case, the real thing and the fictional character kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
He's just masking what he's doing.
Here's what I don't get. I don't understand what the point of the riddles is.
I don't either, because except for the time Batman's on the train, no one knows he's asking riddles.
Nobody, except for the people that he kills, and he's always going to kill them, and nobody ever gets out alive. I don't understand why he's asking riddles. The question mark seems to be enough. Like, he's giving a calling card, and everybody's confused by it and freaking out. And again, he feels he's behind the scenes. I like that we don't get to see what he looks like until way late. So he's like really mysterious and in the background.
I was a little put off by that, just because when I finally got to him, I was waiting for some like this Riddler's like body is contorted like a question mark, or like something really different to keep him in the shadows, because he's just a guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, he is just a guy.
Also, by the way, the coffee cup with the steam that comes up makes a question mark, that was going a little too far. I just want to throw that out there. But no, you're absolutely right. But I guess what I'm saying is, as I was reading it until we got to see what he actually looks like, there's no reason that this guy shouldn't have looked something like just what the Arkham Riddler looks like.
We did the same thing with Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent is kept in the shadows for his first couple of scenes, and then we finally see him, and he's just a guy.
Well, and he looks a lot like the Dark Knight version.
Yeah, well, and we keep throwing shadows over half it. I have issues with Harvey Dent. We'll get to that.
We'll get there. I mean, we can finish with the Riddler if we have anything more to say. Yeah, with the Harvey Dent thing, it was the same thing I had with Gotham, where it was like, yeah, putting half his face in shadow is kind of obvious, and you think you're being cute and ironic and stuff, but like we get it, and he's constantly talking about twos and halves and things.
You know what you're doing.
I guess the problem is we've seen Harvey Dent so often before he becomes Two-Face that doing allusions and foreshadowings to it is not clever anymore. And I'm not saying you can't do any, but I think it's got to be a little bit more subtle than that. But whatever. What else should we say about the Riddler? The thing is, he's dressed like kind of just like an urban terrorist, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I know you're not going to understand this. He's dressed like Spider Jerusalem.
Okay,
who's the main character of Warren Ellis's Transmetropolitan.
Is that on purpose, you think?
I have no idea. Maybe. But Spider Jerusalem.
I mean, are there any parallels? Are there any connections?
No shirt, just jean. Like, he's dressed very similar.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's intentional or not, or if it's just a look. I notice a lot of shirtless people in comics and movies that I don't see in the real world.
Yeah,
you notice that?
Yeah, and it's played like that's the contemporary thing that bad guys would do. Is I'm all scary and kick ass because I don't wear a shirt.
Here, that's the cool thing, right? Like that's what modern bad guys look like.
Yeah, because it's goofy to put a superhero or a supervillain symbol like just on your shirt in the middle, but if you tattoo it right there, that's cool. Yeah, I don't understand. This one has question mark bling. Yeah. It's got the big necklace and the but I don't know, man. Like I didn't feel like he
that was kind of what I was waiting for.
Yeah,
he doesn't look like the Riddler at all. because he doesn't care.
Because he's not the Riddler, yeah.
It's just an image.
Well, and if it turns
I'm
out
for something like that,
and again, this might just be my idea, and he might not be going there. But if it turns, and maybe he'll never bring that character back. But but I suspect he's going to be important for the third book. And if Riddler comes back and we find out, and again, I guess it just depends on what he does with the story. But if he comes back and it turns out that he is another character and somebody that we knew already because he's not really the Riddler, maybe it would have been cool to reveal that here, at least to the audience. But I don't know that we had. But I don't know. I need to read more before I can be sure of that.
Intentional that nobody knows who he is. He is not Edward Nygma.
I think he's I think he's a big deal. I think he's going to be really, really important.
I really hope so, because as it is here,
it's a cool idea.
I'm kind of left wanting more from the character as the big villain of the piece. When I got to the end, I was like, I'm still not really sure what he was after, why he was doing it.
Here's the thing, what I love about it, and I really do love this about it, so the Riddler usually is all about outwitting Batman, who's the world's greatest detective, and this is subverted because neither of them are that. And so here, we've got a Riddler that's not all about outwitting Batman, although I think he doesn't like the fact that Batman figures out his clue just because he thinks he's coming up with stuff that nobody can answer, and frankly, that riddle was not that hard.
He's not pleased.
Importantly, that riddle was not all that hard. The Shadow one? It's like, yeah, okay. Or was that later? I forget which one it was, but there was the Riddler that he...
No, it's the Shadow one. Because, of course, that's the one Batman knows the answer to, right?
Yeah. Well, and then of course, that plays into the motifs of the book, because there's a lot of outcasts and shadowy figures in this book. When we get to Killer Croc, who, by the way... love this version of Killer Croc.
I love this version of Killer Croc too.
Freaking excellent. I think maybe my favorite version so far of the character that I've ever read.
I love how much it subverts expectations. He immediately comes out the way you think he's going to be, and then he's like, "Well, no, I'm just."
In a lot of ways, the most sympathetic character in the book.
Maybe the third reveal where he's just a guy. But this time it was interesting that he was just a guy.
That's true. And that wasn't even really played that much of a reveal. I think it was more that he just didn't really have the chip on his shoulder that you thought he would. I mean, like, he sort of does, but he's not... His heart's not in the wrong place or anything. He's just scared to go up, and he doesn't trust people. He has every reason not to.
Who is eating people? Because we hear a couple of times, like, there's one line specifically where they're like, this man's, like, entrails were eaten.
Oh, yeah. And he wasn't doing it. Maybe we'll find out that there's something that was actually doing that. I mean, I feel like we're doing a lot of
things in this book. I don't know if they are dropped plot lines or if they are setups.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Reviewing these one at a time like this, when we read the third one, we're probably going to have a different perspective on it, because this made me like this better, but it also made me appreciate why other people didn't like it once I read it. You know what I mean? Where I was like, well, I think you need this book before you can appreciate this book. I didn't, but the folks that didn't like it, I can kind of understand to a degree.
9 books in the series are way better after you read the 10th book.
That's true. Well, and I think we had it a lot with single issue comics too, of course, because it's like you're only getting part of the story, and I think the deal is, these are complete pieces, but they're not complete pieces. It's exactly the same way that we're dealing with, I guess I bring this up a lot, but like with the Marvel movies right now, where like, I appreciate certain films in the series a lot more after Avengers. Or after Winter Soldier. And we've got a lot of that here, where it's just a lot of ongoing stories. So, like, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Batman has a character arc. It's a solid character arc. Makes a lot of sense. I think Alfred has a decent character arc. But anyway, what we're talking about, Riddler. Riddler in this, I don't think he's anti-intellectual, but he's not...
He's not the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, and he's not about proving that he is. Again, it's all about creating a misdirection. And I feel like Batman is all about making people think that he is the larger-than-life character that he is so often, actually in a lot of comics, where he does a thing and it doesn't, and you don't understand how he can accomplish it, and then people just say, well, he's Batman. And then you can get away with that.
You almost kind of think that, like, in this universe, someone is making, like, fan comics that are just the regular Batman comics.
Yeah, sure. And then you find out that, no, you're in the real world, and these are just guys. And but yeah, I mean,
Batman falls off a roof and breaks his neck.
I want to talk for a minute about the identity stuff a little bit, because I love the Riddler speech. about asking the question, who is anyone? And you know, Batman says, who are you? And that's another one of the things that makes me really think that he's going to turn out to be somebody we know, and it's going to be a really cool reveal. Because he's like, who is anyone really? And he goes on this whole, I love this, he goes on this whole tirade about how, well, we're you know, who we present ourselves as to people isn't the same as who we really are, but then do we really know who we are? Yada, yada, yada. And, like, you can look at what Batman is in one way, but then the other. And then, after all of that, finally Batman just says, so you're not going to tell me who you are you? And I loved that. I thought that was hilarious.
There's a couple of lines
this where... Batman is so refreshingly simple. Would you agree with that?
There's a similar scene between him and the Riddler where he goes, you're in the room, aren't you? And he goes, that should have been your first question.
Yeah, well, I think it was the same scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that stuff. But I think that they might both kind of have this thing a little bit where, as they are pretending to be a thing, they start becoming a little bit more of the thing they're pretending to be. But especially Batman, because there's all this great stuff about how Batman is not a detective yet. And some people may not really care for that. I love it. I love Batman coming to Gordon and saying, I need you to teach me how to be a detective. One of the coolest scenes in the whole book for me, I'm going to throw this out real quick, is that is the subversion of the Batman disappears and Gordon doesn't know where he went scene.
I love that.
I love that.
I did too. I love that. That was great. I think, because Batman has kind of a weird character arc. Because we have this opening, not the opening scene, but we have the first scene between him and Gordon. He's like, you're not much of a detective, are you? And then I think there's another line.
He says, that's not my job.
Yeah. And then kind of out of nowhere, Batman starts being smarter throughout the book.
Yeah. I'm iffy on that.
I wonder if Bruce Wayne in this maybe is maybe the case of you're smarter than you think you are, or something like that, where he never really thought about it until someone was like, you know, maybe you should, you know, use your brain at this. And then he was like, oh yeah, like I can figure this out.
Yeah, well, and that's, and I'm on the fence about this a little bit, where if it's supposed to be, and maybe on a second read, I could feel like I could make more of a determination on it. And I don't know if this is a thing that I'm criticizing or not right now. But I'm kind of waffling on it. But the question is, you
just read it.
Yeah, and I just got finished with it a couple hours ago. The question is for me, Vic Sage. No, the question is for me.
Renee Montoya.
The question is Renee Montoya.
Hey, she's in this.
Yeah, she is in she's in this as much as she's been in Gotham.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, it's Renee and Crispin, just like in Gotham.
Just like in Gotham, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I had a lot of that in this. I also thought that, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but you said Gotham, or we mentioned Gotham. I also thought that the Gordon-Harvey Dent relationship in this, and of course, I think Jeff Johns has a little bit to do with Gotham. I think he's a consultant on that show, or maybe one of the producers. But this struck me as what that show should be, at least with them, in a lot of ways. But I thought it was really cool to pair them up in this, like we're doing on that show, but do it more. And I liked them on that show, but doing a little bit more with it. Anyway, character-wise. But what in the world were we talking about? The identity thing. So the question that I have, of course, is Batman becoming a better detective because he's faking it till he makes it, and he's like turning into that, like the clothes make the man. The more determined he is, he's paying a lot of attention, and he's just on the job training. He's getting really good at it, and he's not letting his insecurities get to him. Where he's not saying, "Well, I'm not a good detective, so I can't be a good detective." He's just allowing it to sink in. Or is Johns being just a little bit too easy and sloppy toward the end, where he just starts getting better at it for no good reason? I wanna say it's the former rather than the latter, but I can't decide.
I think maybe just based on the line of "that's not my job," that maybe it's not that he's not a smart guy, but it is. He just thought, I'm going to go out and I'm going to punch people with my fists until they stop being bad. And, like, he didn't really expect that he would have to do much more than that.
Eric, one of my favorite things about the first book was the whole way through you got really thin Bullock, and you're like, well, this is a totally different character. And then you get to the end, and
really straight arrow. And just Almost like completely different character, yeah.
But also like still had that he's all about he's kind of all for himself and maybe has the ability to be corrupted a little bit
right.
thing where but a different sort of corruption, right? Because actually what he is, now thinking about what he is in the first book is this like just he's so naive about everything, but he's all about fame and fortune, and then he has this dose of reality and he starts becoming the Bullock that we know, and drinks a lot and starts to get bigger. And then in this, he just seems to be kind of straight up the Bullock we knew. But then every now and again, you see flashes of that really naive version again, and so he feels like a real person. But I love what they do with him in this.
There's a scene where Commissioner Gordon, well, no, he's not Commissioner. Gordon and Bullock get brought in by Harvey Dent, and they're getting yelled at. And, like, he makes some comments about how, like, Bullock smells and, like, how he doesn't trust him. And so it's a really classic Bullock scene. But what I thought was so interesting was we've never had it before where we've built up to him being the disheveled, smelly guy.
Yeah.
Like we saw who he was before that, and it builds up to, like, this classic Bullock scene. I thought that was really cool. I don't know where to go with him after this. Like, because in the first one, he's very naive and kind of helps Gordon. And then this, he's very disheveled and he's always drunk. One of the best scenes is where Gordon gets really angry, where he's like, what do you care what I do with my nights? And he's like, your nights? It's 10 a.m. And he opens the door and the sun shines in.
You've been on duty for 3 hours.
Yeah, that was great. But he kind of pulls Bullock out. Like, did you get that sense? Like, I feel like Bullock is now on the track to being better.
Yeah, where he still has, that dose of reality thing where he's going to be more cynical than he was before, but maybe ultimately will be kind of a better person than he was in the first place because his heart's more in the right place, where, like, he had to have that go all the way to the bottom and then be built back up. So now it's like like the future's wide open for that character.
Yeah, he could go
He could go anywhere now. Yeah. I don't know that this was the origin of the Bullock we know. I think he was there for a minute. Maybe, as you said, we'll pull out of it. Yeah.
There's some stuff in this where, like, it's changed. Things are changed, and sometimes I wonder if they're just changed for the sake of change, or just like, let's try something differently. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bullock become commissioner before Gordon.
Oh, I love that. Good point. Especially because, well, maybe there's even a little bit of telegraphing that, considering that we've got Loeb, and even Loeb isn't the commissioner this time, and you never see that. We have a totally different commissioner. Yeah, good call. Maybe so. And maybe they'll play it that way on purpose so that Gordon can focus more on turning Batman into Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he'll want to stay at a lower rank so that he can kind of lay low and make what he's doing more about turning Batman into a detective. I imagine the third book might be all about him training to be a detective.
I think that's part of what definitely with this book and Superman Volume 3. I really want these books to come out more on time, because initially it looked like, and they felt like, not on time. They don't have a schedule.
That's part of the problem, right? I mean, that's part of why I think people aren't real excited about it. Is they're never sure if we're even going to get any more.
But initially, they felt like almost like they were like movies in comics.
Yeah.
And they took 2 to 3 years to come out. Looking at this and looking back on the Superman trilogy, it's not that.
Yeah.
These are ongoings, and like I want them to come out more consistently, because I feel like a lot of things I could have misconceptions about, or I could not be crazy about, the next book could be like, well, we did this for this.
Yeah, they're just lengthy. They're either lengthy single issues or more like just a trade and there are no breaks. Where the issues would be. Because I mean, like, I easily could have, I read this and I easily could have said this feels like a movie, and yet I don't know if there's really enough going on here for a whole 2-hour motion picture, but there certainly is. With you look at Superman Earth 1, that is a 3-act film. I
definitely think, especially the way the first volume of Batman ends, it ends like the ending of a movie. Like, it almost ends like the beginning of Begins, where like everything's the plot's coming down, but we're also getting like, oh, the world is changing, and we've got the Batgirl drawing. I actually really liked how Barbara was used in this. She's not really in it.
She's not in it.
They set up the thing that's never been set up, which is that she's really good at computers.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if you know this, that's a comic book stereotype. The second you lose your powers or like a limb or something, you instantly become good at computers.
That's hilarious, because you need something to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be good at something.
You need a skill, yeah. You need a skill that doesn't require you to do anything physical. Yeah, but I will say that these things in Superman also feel really cinematic to me. I mean, like like we always say that comics feel like storyboards for movies, but these really feel like that, like more than usual. I would say
less cinematic. I feel like these. I feel like Superman Earth 1, and we'll see how these play out.
Yeah,
but Superman Earth 1, that could be a TV season. That could be the first season of a Superman show.
Yeah,
I think, and this feels that way too. These
flesh
feel
out
very
the relationships,
TV showy in the way that we do TV shows now, where it's very arcane.
That's fair. Yeah, maybe less of a movie, more like a Netflix show, like like a 13-episode thing or whatever. Yeah. What else? We've got a lot of other things in this that we haven't touched yet. Oh, you wanted to talk about the costume.
Okay. So, for no reason, we changed the bat symbol again. Now, to be fair, we randomly, for no reason, changed the bat symbol in the first one.
Yeah.
Because he just adds the yellow circle. You can't see. I'm doing a thing on my chest. You can't see it. He randomly adds that in the first one, and that's fine. I actually really like the costume. The generic Earth one. I like the lines, like you can see his eyes.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that he doesn't even bother to put the black behind it. It feels really makeshift, and I love that line he has in here. Why don't you wear armor? Because it says that a guy like me needs armor. That's like the best reason I've ever heard to not armor up Batman.
I thought was weird is he goes, "Why do you still wear the spandex?" And I was like, that doesn't look like spandex. That looks like material. Like that. His costume doesn't look spandex.
No, it looks like vinyl.
Yeah.
Or jean, even a little in places. I don't know, but yeah, it looks like more of a vinyl kind of suit.
But then
that's not spandex. Well, the legs look kind of spandex, but anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's skin tight.
Randomly out of nowhere, he gets this. It's like a triangle or like a diamond. It's like a Superman symbol. It looks like? It looks like the Asbat symbol if there was a bat in the middle of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I don't know why. Well, and aesthetically, I don't like it.
And I think the original suit for this had this also, so I'm not really complaining about the new design. But less symbol design-wise for me, more of my issue is, why is it a raised physical thing that is made of like glass or plastic that you could punch and crack it? Why is it? Why is he running around?
Did you see that in the first volume? Isn't it a light?
Why is he running around with a bike reflector on his chest?
I think it's a light.
Oh,
I think in the first one, doesn't he shine it?
I forget. But, like, why does he have a light there?
It's a bat signal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought the whole updating the bat signal to be a phone thing was not a bad idea. But
you mean the thing from the Batman?
Oh, I guess it is kind of from the Batman. What cracked me up, I liked it that we're playing with the idea that Batman is eccentric and he doesn't really realize it. And that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, he goes, holy crap, he put a bat on it. That cracked me up. I love that.
But so we get this weird new symbol. It's not even a new costume, it's just the new symbol.
Yeah.
And then we kind of have this... I felt like it was a dramatic build-up to a new costume. Because he says, like, oh, the costume, your new costume from Lucius is in that case. And the case gets taken, and we never see it. We never see him open it. And then, like, he finally gets to the case, and it's the same costume he was wearing before.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, like, he had the new suit way before that. No, you're right. Yeah, yeah, I expect it to look different, too.
And I don't know why, if you were going to change that weird triangle thing that I don't like, which couldn't just entirely be I've been raised on Batman having a circle. Like, it doesn't necessarily look bad, it just looks wrong. If you were going to do that, why wouldn't that be the point where you do it?
Yeah, for me the big thing still is just, it gets cracked the second he puts it on. Of course it does. We haven't talked art at all with these. Some of these full-page and two-page spreads are just absolutely breathtaking. I love what this book looks like, and also I'm glad we haven't changed artists yet.
Well, we'll see, because Superman Earth 1 made it 2 volumes.
Just 2.
Although Jeff Johns has said that they are both working on the 3rd volume and they want it to be out early next year. So theoretically, we'll at least get 3 volumes.
Hopefully so.
With Gary Frank.
Yeah.
All right, can we talk about the dents?
Let's talk about the dents. I know you have issues with it. We got a couple of dents in this book, Eric. What are the issues with the dents? Yeah. That was my thing. Was just it feels like we did the same thing that Superman did.
Here's the thing that I understand about the creative process.
Can I ask you a question? Would you have been in love with this if the Lex thing hadn't happened, or is it just impossible to tell because we saw that?
I have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing I know about, here's the thing I understand about the creative process. It's entirely possible that
they came up
Jeff
with it independently.
Johns mentioned it, and then like JMS is like, oh, that's a cool idea. What if I did that with Flag? Like, it is entirely possible that either they came up with it independently, or JMS is in fact riffing on what he came up with first. His book just didn't come out first. I don't know. It feels really derivative.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's both under the Earth 1 thing, and the last Superman book came out recently when we finally revealed that at the end, because it's not just that it's, if you haven't read it, it's not just that it's 2 dents, a male and a female.
It's the same.
Just like with Lex Squared, because with Lex Squared it was a husband and wife thing. Here is a brother sister thing. I feel like Jessica Dent was a thing in something else. Am I wrong about that, or is she made up for this?
I think she's made up for this.
So in this we've got Harvey Dent, we have Jessica Dent, and the big twist for Batman's backstory is that he was friends with one of them, but the other one bullied him, and he actually dated the woman.
And it's kind of interesting because he bullied him because he was like, "Stay with my sister, you're crazy. You're an Arkham, you're crazy."
Yeah, and bringing that whole Arkham thing in, and then that's kind of an interesting irony ultimately because she's the one that goes nuts and has the multiple personality where she thinks she's also her brother by the end of it. So yeah, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but it is really similar, of course. Now, obviously,
and it plays the same way where when we get to near the end, we start manipulating the audience.
Yeah.
We're like, which one is it gonna be?
Yeah. Where it looks like he's gonna be what he would be, and it's gotta be the girl both times. But of course, if you wanna stand that on its head, it has to be because they're both male villains. So yeah,
and this went all the way because this scars half his face, and you're like, oh, okay, he is in fact Two-Face, and then it flips it where she's like, he's dead.
What I couldn't figure out was, did she get her face scarred because she rubbed up against it, or did she scar it herself later? Because while I was reading that portion, I kept looking real close to see if she was getting scarred, but I couldn't tell.
Coming out of part of her face.
Is that what it was?
When she lifts back, there's some smoke, but when her face is all bandaged up, it looks like it covers way more. Like, it looks like just her cheek touched his face.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it's bandaged all of this.
I wonder if when we see her later, if she just won't be as pronounced.
Yeah.
But who knows? I don't know. Like, I like things about it. Like I want to try to look at it away from that, from the other thing as much as I can, and appreciate it on its own. But as you said, I was so in love with the Lex Squared thing and the way that she turns into actual comic book Lex Luthor that it's really, really tough to appreciate this as much. But also, when she becomes Two-Face at the end, I'm not sure I bought her blaming Bruce Wayne as much as I bought. Well, I wouldn't know, but then I guess she's not blaming him. She is him. She is Harvey Dent also. So that kind of works. Okay, I don't know.
But see, here's the thing that I thought worked about Lex Squared that doesn't work here.
Yeah.
Is that in Lex Squared we're presented with a very different Lex Luthor, and then his wife is also, she's not fully evil Lex Luthor.
Right.
And I think like the idea, it's playing on you where you're like, this guy likes Superman, he's a good guy, she's gonna die and he's gonna become the Lex we know. Like, I think it's playing on the idea, and it subverts it.
Yeah.
The good guy does die. In this, Harvey Dent is exactly who you think Harvey Dent is. He has anger issues. Half his face is always shadowed, as Harvey Dent is one to have.
Yeah, and frankly, there's not a lot redeemable about the character in this.
He's
kind of scummy. I mean, like he's trying to clean up the city, sort of, but he's doing it by paying off everybody, and like
he's the worst Harvey Dent I've ever seen.
Yeah, like, and that's on purpose.
I don't mean like poorly written. I mean like
he's a bad person.
He's like an honorable guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually he's got a dark side. He's he's supposed to be a foil for Batman, where Batman is a good person with a dark side. He tries to keep it in check, and Harvey Dent is the version of that can't. That's the whole idea. And then also the identity thing of Bruce and Batman. It's almost like a multiple identity thing. And then a multiple personality thing. Harvey Dent actually has a multiple personality. The problem is there's nothing built up in her psychology that would make you believe that she would end up with that psychosis.
The idea that the dark side is Harvey Dent, it could potentially be interesting.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like Harvey Dent is still Two-Face. It's entirely. I don't know if I buy that she gets his personality.
That's what I'm saying. Was she developed on not like? She and her brother kind of get along, but I almost feel like she would have to be like as enamored with him or relied on him as much as the Lex Square thing.
You know what it needed? And I guess you could still add this.
Yeah.
If she had a history of mental illness, and that's why he didn't want Bruce Wayne hanging around with her.
Yeah.
Is that she already had a history of mental illness, and the Arkhams, they're crazy, so he certainly doesn't want that adding to it.
We just don't know enough about her. Weirdly, she's basically Rachel Dawes if Rachel Dawes was Harvey Dent's brother instead of love interest.
Sister.
What's that now?
Sister.
Yeah. Did I say brother? Sorry. But she basically, if she was Harvey Dent's sister instead of love interest, that's.
But she also has a line that is both clever and wrong within the book.
Oh, what's that?
She figures out that Bruce is Batman, and he says, "How long have you known?"
I didn't buy that.
And she says, "Since you said, isn't Batman a simple hope? Only he would think that." That is fine, except we see throughout the book people do see Batman as a symbol of hope.
I had the exact same note.
It would be different if everyone was scared of it.
Yep, I had the same note. I was going to say that. Yeah. When you can't have the thing with Selina Kyle the woman with the balcony, was that Selina Kyle?
Yes.
Okay. So it's Selina Kyle with a kid?
No, she's lying.
Oh, she's lying. Okay. I just got finished reading it. I wasn't real sure what was going on there, and I hadn't given it another look yet. Okay, so now I get that. Thank you. Moving right along. So she was.
Is that the joke?
So no, that was not the joke. So she was stealing things in that apartment. We're all caught up now. Anyway, but yeah, so she says that, okay, but even though she's making up a kid, there's a lot of other things where people, like there's that line about how a lot of people in Gotham trust Batman more than the police force. You can't have it. No, I had the same note. That line didn't play for me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't work in the universe that's been set up.
I would have bought it more if she just simply knew him that well, and like maybe suspected, but couldn't be sure, but suspected, because he was so quick to say, like, I remember reading that scene and thinking, he's not being strategic enough. He's way too quick to say, Batman's a symbol of hope. Well, nobody is throwing around that language. Yeah, and you are Batman, so that's a mistake.
Could be clever.
Yeah, sure.
In a different universe where Batman is completely hated or thought to be a criminal or something like that.
I like that it's more complicated than that. I like that you have some people who think that he killed Cobblepot, and other people who think that he's a good thing. And
and even some people think him killing Cobblepot is a good thing and represents how he, he's kicking the butts the cops aren't kicking.
Yeah. No, that's great.
But I was going somewhere with that with Harvey. There's a thing with Harvey. He says something. Oh, I really liked because there's that thing about superheroes, right? Like the mulligan is that everybody doesn't instantly realize that they're the superhero.
Yeah.
I like that Harvey is really close to figuring it out because he's investigating Bruce Wayne. Like, the idea of, like, if you thought about Batman, you wouldn't instantly go to Bruce Wayne, but the second you start looking at what Bruce Wayne is spending his money on, you would start to put the piece. I think that's interesting.
And they did a great. Well, it's interesting for a couple of reasons, and I was going to talk about that too. I'm glad we're there now. First of all, I was impressed that it didn't seem like too much of a contrivance at all that we're looking into Bruce Wayne because he was set up. So right. That whole thing worked, and it's all really well. The whole book is actually like really well structured, and the story is tight knit, and it totally works. Secondly, I like, with all that identity stuff we were talking about earlier and the cool parallels that are drawn between Batman and the Riddler, I like that they think Bruce Wayne is the Riddler.
Yes.
That's a really neat...
I like that the Riddler makes them think that.
It's a neat idea, yeah. Because they have some things in common, and there's all that question of who am I trying to be versus who I really am, and then they think that he's the Riddler for a little bit, and then once again reminds me a little bit of stuff we did in Dark Knight, where you had that thing where people thought Harvey Dent was Batman.
Right. So
we're playing on a lot of that, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah. I feel like in talking to you, there's more to the Riddler than I thought there was, but I still feel like thematically there's a lot to him.
Thematically, there's a lot to him. My big thing is I just don't know why he has riddles. I don't know why he tells riddles. I
don't know why he has riddles, and I'm still not entirely clear. And again, and the problem is I don't know if I'm not supposed to be clear on why he was doing this.
I think that I am trusting it more than you are, because there's a lot of great stuff that pays off from the first book here, and he seems to be structuring things a lot like JMS was with Superman. So I want to have more of a wait-and-see verdict is out attitude on that stuff, because I feel like you're not going to throw out names of people we recognize in the list of people who took over Cobblepot's dealings if we weren't going somewhere with it and doing something with it later.
I do like that this doesn't feel like he is just picking names from continuity and throwing them out there.
No, I think he's doing
that sometimes before you start. They just throw names around.
It feels deliberate.
Everything feels very deliberate here, and I really like that. I think that's... I need these books to come out more consistently for me to really be able to appreciate... Jeff Johns is saying early next year. I really hope it's early next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. And this is neither here nor there. I kind of hope we get more Superman.
Oh well, yeah, that too.
But like, I don't know. These are getting kind of overlooked by people, and I think they're great.
I think so too. I think we said it right after it happened. This is what the New 52 should look like.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Where these characters are still at the core what they are, but it's interesting updates and reimaginings.
And it's different, yeah.
I would have loved to have... because here's the thing. If 52 did what I always said it should have done and just owned it and started over completely, this is a wonderful way to reinterpret Batman. I don't feel like we're telling the same stories over again, but I also feel like he's still Batman. It would have been neat to flesh some of this stuff out. I feel like you could have 2 or 3 or 4 Batman books going monthly in the status quo and tell stories and flesh things out.
Well, and I'm interested to see what Johns does with the villains. Like in the same way as he ended the first book, here we're told Catwoman's going to be the next one.
Right, yeah.
But nothing was said about Killer Croc, which makes me think, like, the next one could, like, I don't usually think of Catwoman as somebody carrying a story. Next one could blow everybody's mind and be like Catwoman and the Joker. Or Catwoman and Scarecrow. You know, we set up Jonathan Crane, or... I'm really interested to see what he does with the other characters.
Oh yeah, you're right, because we could kind of bring in anybody. We weren't expecting Killer Croc, and I like that he's important. I mean, he's important thematically, of course, with like I said, the shadow stuff and the being an outcast, and I think this whole book is about not being what you like the whole you can't judge a book by its cover thing. I think that's a lot of this book, but I didn't expect him to be used that way. And you're right, it'd be really cool if we just brought some other random character in that you never expected, and they did something.
I mean, the big one is, I mean, you want to see what Earth 1 Joker looks like, right? Like that's the big one, but
I kind of want I want one of two things.
Because this is such a different Batman. He is not the all-competent,
That's what I was going to say.
all-godly...
I feel like it either needs to be way down the line when like, okay, he's been doing all of this training and research and stuff to get really good, and then the Joker is his big test. Or the Joker comes in and just wipes the floor with him and shows him just how not ready he is. Because that's one thing we haven't really dealt with a lot yet, is Alfred keeps telling him how not ready he is. He hasn't faced that yet. Ready. He hasn't faced it. And that's and I would imagine the third book will be.
Well, and bring Killer Croc in. Next book could be Bane. Next book could be anything.
Could be anybody. Yeah.
I think the third option for the Joker is that it's a Joker tailor-made for this Batman. Like, Joker could just be like a crazy homeless person that like blows things up, like a true anarchist, just like to the core. Or something like that.
Well, he's always the opposite side of the coin from Batman, so maybe we have a Joker who maybe in some way isn't as ready as we're used to seeing, or just got started, or something. Where do you think we'll go with Catwoman? I don't think she'll be the main villain of that book. I think it's more. No,
I don't either. That's why I immediately started thinking like, well, who else do I think? And there's no way to know. I mean,
sure, yeah.
I mean, I guess it's probably Two-Face, right? Like, I guess that's the other character that's set up to be used.
Well, we did kind of set that up, yeah.
Well, and I mean, if she is Two-Face, whether Two-Face is the villain or not next book, that's going to be dealt with because she's the mayor.
Yeah, that's
how
important.
do people just react to a mayor that's face is messed up?
Well, I imagine that she won't get to stay mayor, but maybe she will. But I mean, because she would have to somehow or rather convince everyone she wasn't crazy and didn't have multiple personalities, because Bruce finds out immediately. Yeah. She wakes up and she is that other personality. Maybe she can find a way to curb it. But yeah, I imagine that where he'll go immediately moving forward is dealing with the whole Wayne has Arkham blood thing and how and use the Two-Face bullying thing as part of that. Also, we have a Two-Face that knows his identity.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of important. I mean, the question is, will he in her head know everything she knows? Probably.
Right.
And so,
well, yeah. I think what's so interesting and what I'm excited for moving forward is he keeps placing pieces. We have the Crane Institute, and we have another character that was named Crane.
Yep.
Those are intentional. You can't. That's not a mistake. You had Jack Drake. That could just be a wink and a nod, But he's setting up things. And he's mentioning things.
Yeah, and also remember, we've got Batgirl, and we haven't done anything with her yet.
Yeah. And
we might bring her right away. We've seen her. Haven't we seen her in costume?
No, we just saw her sketching it. She draws it.
Oh, that's right, she draws it. I couldn't remember. That's right, here it is. And it looks great. But yeah, so you gotta assume...
like a teenager couldn't draw it.
Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we did the Batman thing and had Batgirl before Robin?
Yeah. Or just like I think you could do something really interesting, like just Batgirl is just like as like her hacker alias. Yeah. Like she doesn't have to have a costume. Kind of like how like in Ultimates, they're like, well, he wouldn't be a photographer, he'd be a web designer.
You could do that, but Jeff Johns is not going to have her sketch that suit and never wear it.
Yeah.
There's no way he does that. I wouldn't figure, but anyway, yeah, I like that we're in the same place with Catwoman that we were with Riddler, where you get to the end and it's iconography that you're familiar with, but you have no idea where they're going with it. I don't know what they're going to do with Catwoman, but she seems really fun and spunky, and I love the way Gary Frank draws her, man. I mean, she looks like she's just going to be a bundle of fun.
Yeah, well, and theoretically, she doesn't have a costume yet.
Not yet.
Because if she's robbing that house, she's just a person.
Yep, she just has creepy cat pillows.
She's just a guy.
She just has cats and creepy cat pillows and money all over her bed, and she looks like a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm excited because she does. She looks like she's going to be fun. Anything else we need to hit with these before we close?
Did we talk about Killer Croc on camera, or did we talk about Killer Croc off camera? And then
just very briefly. Anything else you wanted to say about it? We pretty much just talked about how it was cool the way they subverted expectations, and I like the way he was used thematically. I don't know what else you want to say.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that, because I had like a split second where I was like, wait, did we talk about that when the camera wasn't working?
yeah, I don't. But yeah, we definitely did.
Then no, I enjoyed this quite a bit. Man, it really is leaves me chopping at the bits for more. Like that's the thing is, like that's the worst criticism anybody gives towards something I like is I just wish there was more.
Yeah, but then that's also a huge praise for it too. Is that that's what somebody who writes something like this that's ongoing wants for you to do. That's the whole thing. It's all about making you salivate. But yeah, as we said earlier, my big beef right now is that this isn't that we don't have something like this ongoing regular. I want to read this month to month.
Yeah, well, or even if they just for sure put one of these out a year.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah. I'm just saying that I like this so much better than most of what's going on at DC right now. I still love Snyder. I've got my reservations about the Gordon as Batman thing. Verdict's out on that.
And the Mech Batman, yeah.
I mean, I've read the first issue of that and Detective, and I mean, I love the way both of those guys are writing Gordon. I just don't know if I buy the whole premise in the first place. But anyway, it's weird. I just don't know why anybody. I just don't know why anybody on the streets thinks that's Batman. Like, I don't know how that's helping it. It's like, well, Batman's gone, so we need a Batman. So naturally, we put him in a robot suit. There's a whole like Bat family, and nobody ever looks at Robin and is like, oh, it's Batman.
This isn't the first time Batman's been gone.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, it's just weird. Anyway, whatever. But like I said, I'm enjoying things about that, but I just
Snyder loves his Batman.
Yeah. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks always for watching. We sure appreciate it. And if you read Batman Earth 1 Volume 2, let us know what you thought of it. We are certainly recommending both of these. If you haven't gotten started on these yet, and you heard things about the first one and you weren't sure about it, give it a try now, because
and
solidly...
the reviews are better for this one.
Yeah.
We're not alone this time.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Which is like, and I will operate in a vacuum if I love a thing, but this time I don't know. And Eric is used to operating out of a vacuum because he gets trapped in those quite frequently.
I love Frank Miller.
But anyway, well, once again, thanks for watching. We sure appreciate it, and we will see you again to review something else for you sometime in the near future. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
See you later.
Sometime in the near future wasn't intentional.
What's that?
You said sometime in the near future.
Right?
Like in the X-Men movies.
Not too distant future.
Damn.
It's not the same thing.